to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink, cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebar.
Hi folks, I'm very lucky today because I'm having a chat with Ryan Barby, soldier, cage fighter and doorman. He's done absolutely everything. So how are you, Ryan?
I'm all good, Liam. I was just saying when I arrived, it's so great to be here just relaxing, because normally when you've got a camera on me, someone's trying to punch you in the face. So it's great to just be here and chat to you in a casual way. Yeah.
So why did you go into the military then?
I was boxing on the amateur scene, and I really love sports, Liam. Like, absolutely love sports. I was always into fitness. I was training all the time, and got a lot of friends. They were going to all the parties and stuff. And then the opportunity come to join the military, and the only reason I joined the airborne unit is because when I first started, they said they're really big on the boxing and the fitness. So I thought, oh, I'll do that. But I had very, very minimal military knowledge, and I knew nothing about the airborne forces. So little did I know, once I passed the training, I'd be jumping out of planes, doing all this crazy stuff. I had absolutely no idea that I was going to be doing all sorts of stuff. It was literally my love of boxing that got me there. But to be fair, the boxing is the best thing that ever happened in my life, because as a kid I was just a shy kid. I probably would have never ever joined the military or had the confidence to do it. So I never went on to become a world champion boxer, but I've got to thank boxing so much, because in my life there's nothing better as a kid, like, for me, than getting into boxing. It was absolutely brilliant. I had to kick around in the regiment for like a year or two to pass my P company, get my parachute rings, do all my tests. And then when it finally came about, finally got my shot, which I was absolutely buzzing at the time for, to go to Afghanistan on tour with the regiment.
So just to bring you back on that, well, what kind of training do you have to do? Don't you have to go up to Wales and do all of this kind of stuff?
Yeah, do the pre-power, and then when you go on the P company, it's like a specialised like training to sort of like beat you down. It's one of the hardest tests you could do. And you do everything, they absolutely annihilate you until you get to test week. So the idea of it is, when you got test week, your body's absolutely battered. And then you've got a set of tests which you must pass. It's no, you can't. You have to pass these tests. And there's 8 to 10 tests within that week. One's milling, where you fight someone for 60 seconds, but they test your aggression and your speed, sort of thing. But another thing they test is when the instructor says stop, you must have that self-discipline to stop. So you're not going to be a liability to the team. So there's a controlled aggression, which is very important. Then you do like a log run. I think it's a mile and a half, like carry the log, and stretcher runs, 20-mile Bergen endurance run. I think you've got set times to do it. So I think it's 3 or 4.5 hours. And then you've got a 10-miler you have to do in, I think it's an hour, 20 minutes off the top of my head. And then you've got a 2-mile steeplechase and a 2-mile full kit. I think you've got 18 minutes. But some of these timers, you're up and down like hills as well, makes it harder. When you stand at the end and find out who passes and who doesn't, it's actually really, really surprising who passes. A lot of people shock you. A lot of people you expect to pass as well fail. So it's more of a mind thing.
What's the mental thing like, though? Because is the mental thing just as tough as the physical?
Yeah, well, the mental is actually more important than the physical, because to get someone fit, like, it's not really too hard if you smash a lot of people in the gym and get them up to that standard. But with the mind, it's harder to train that. You've got it or you haven't. It's just that willing to like push it to the next level. And you can push through the injuries. You can push through the no sleep. You can push through not having any food. It doesn't matter if it's windy, snow, rain. You're just there every single day. So it's the perseverance that gets you through. So that's the same for most things in my life. I was never particularly God gift at everything, but I always had one thing. I like to think I had a really good like perseverance. So I had that.
Was there ever a moment that you thought, oh, I can't do this, so I'm going to pack this up?
To be honest, once I started to get the power wings and to go on tour and get the medals off it, I had it like locked in my head like so much. So I was just willing to do anything. When you line up and they say if you passed or if you failed, I had it already in my head. It was always set in stone that if they said failed, I was going to apply straight. I was going to go straight on the next course, because you can't do that. I was going to go straight on the next course, and even if I had to do it 20 times, I would have kept going and going, because I was so set on passing. Like nothing would get in between it. Like.
So what was it like? I mean, you went up in the planes, actually jumping out of the plane for the first time, because that wasn't kind of in the plan, was it, really, to start with?
Yeah, I just got involved because that unit's really big on boxing. But when it comes to the parachuting, it wasn't actually. not trying to act big man or anything. It's not actually as scary as I thought at all. It was quite enjoyable, especially the first one you do. You do a clean fatigue one, so you do like sort of practice one where you have like no kit on you. It only gets more of a problem and more of a nuisance later on when you've got like your Bergen and your rifle, you got all your kit, and then when you haven't got much space like to jump out. But when it's just no kit, I could do it all day long, just like, out you go. Like, it was actually good fun. You weren't worried
just jumping out the plane? I mean, wasn't that freaking you out a bit?
To be honest, like, no, I can't lie. It never really like bothered me, to be honest. I can't lie, no.
So you had to wait till you're 18, and then you got deployed to Afghanistan. What was that like? And what is it like just actually arriving in the country like that? It must be very weird, different atmosphere, different heat, everything, you know? Yeah,
it was a surreal experience, and touch on that. Like, I was lucky enough to be in the forces when it was like quite active, so I absolutely loved it. It was unbelievable. With blokes I worked with, I'd go do anything with them. Even to this day, it was the best experience of my life. I can't even stress it enough. Like, the brotherhood and the bond and that whole environment was absolutely like second to none. It was the best experience of my entire life. But one thing I will say for listeners, because some people might comment, etc. This, and I'm not sure they're going to quite understand where I'm coming from, but 20 years ago when I first joined the military, like to 20 years moving forward, like now, like myself, the way I thought and the way that they view the world is like completely different. I'm sure everyone back home, if they listen to as well, what you hear on the media and the news, if you could think about yourself from 20 years ago when you first joined up, how you acted, if you joined up to do anything, it was like completely different. So what we did out there at that time, without getting too political, like we were under, well, I was under, I can't talk for anyone else, we thought we were doing the right thing, like with the terrorist threat, the 9/11, everything that you hear sort of thing. We thought we were doing like the best thing, so it was like such a like buzz, and we generally thought we were going out protecting our loved ones back home, and we're doing this. So it was like I was training at such a level and operating at such a high intensity because I thought we was doing the right thing, and I wanted, most importantly, I wanted to make sure the people to the left and right of me, I could drag them off the battlefield. So I was smashing the gym harder than ever. You never get more an incentive to think if your teammate needs you to drag them off the battlefield, you've got to be in top tip shape. So I was training like an absolute man. I'm talking like 7 days a week, 4 times a day. We all were. It was like, it wasn't just me. It was. I'll never be able to get into that shape ever again if you paid me like all the money in the world, because the incentive was like so high. So at that time, it was really, it felt like I was doing the right thing, and I really enjoyed like going. But obviously, like I said, 20 years moving forward, my views now and people listening, like, it
do you get
could
stick
be different.
For that then? Do people, do they criticise you for that, or?
Not just that. I just want if anyone was listening to that, they actually. I just want to make it clear. Like, obviously, back in them times, I was a completely different person. My mind was different, and I think the whole world, especially in the UK, was different then. A lot of people believed the media a lot more then, and the newspapers. I'm sure yourself, like, as well. And because moving forward to present day, when this interview's getting filmed, we've had like stuff like the coronavirus. We have a lot of things. And people do generally look at that sort of stuff a little bit different now. So yes. I just wanted to throw that in there for the listeners that. Like back then, the mentality was like a lot different than what it would be now.
I think people question much more now, don't they?
Yeah. But at that time, hardly anything was questioned. It was with the Iraq and the weapons of mass destruction, etc. Because the time that we went in, like everyone, like in the UK, etc., we all believe that sort of thing. So I just want to throw it in there. Like the time that I went was a lot different to what people would like think now, sort of thing.
So how dangerous was it for you? Because when didn't you even get attacked in the first day or so that you were there?
Yeah, it did. I think we were building showers, and we'd go out to a FOB, which is a forward observation base, and we did have some indirect fire, and it did kick off quite a bit. I think there was 1 month where it piled on, where it was kicking off like pretty much daily. It's a dangerous world out there, Liam. We did what we had to do, but I'm not going to sit and try and claim I'm the warrior or what I did was any different to anyone else, and I'm sure whoever fought in the World War II had it like 10 times harder than I did, and whoever had it in World War One had it 10 times harder than that. So we did what we had to do, and so that was it.
So what kind of things would you have to go out and do?
Well, we was operating at a FOB called FOB Inkerman, which is quite active down near the south.
What's a FOB?
It's like a sort of forward observation base. It's sort of, you have your main camp, which would be like Camp Bastion, and then you'd have the other bases which are sort of like out on the ground. So we was sort of out quite far, but our one we was operating, it was called like FOB Inkerman. Mm-hmm. So it was quite an active FOB, so we had to do our job. It was really good. I think the blokes had a really good time up there. Obviously, like things happened that we weren't happy about. If anyone got injured, etc. So that's like sort of the sad story.
Did you lose comrades then when you were there?
I think the worst, when it was down at Lincoln, the worst one we had 3 killed and actually on the same day. So we had one day where we lost like 3. That was the worst, like within the battle group. But that was just a bad day.
How did the rest of the soldiers react to that? Did they manage to kind of shake that off, or how do they react?
Anything that happens out there doesn't really seem real like till you get home, because I think my family kept a lot of the like paper cutouts and stuff, but because we had no knowledge of what was going on. But that incident was on the front page of like the Sun newspaper, and I think all the media outlets. But we was quite surprised. We had no idea that it was even really known. It's only really when you get back that you realise it's actually in the media, etc.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that when we talk about Afghanistan and stuff, that you don't go into detail. And I know that one of the reasons you don't go into detail is obviously because of you don't want to mention certain names, and there's been some horrific experiences and stuff. But why are there other reasons that you're so reticent at talking about it?
Yeah, it's actually quite strange with things. When you talk about the boxing fights or anything happening in life, my memory's really good. I'm really switched on. I can remember everything. What's happening, who's next to me, like everything's going. But when I talk about the military career, especially when you said about going on tour in Afghanistan, it's like sort of like a massive like blur, sort of like a dream sort of thing. It's the only way I can really describe it. And I can't remember what happened in what order. And I generally think maybe because the brain works maybe as a defence mechanism. If someone asks me like a question about what happened, I'm happy to talk about it. If someone generally really like wanted to know or ask me a question if you wanted to know, I'll tell them. But I have to sit there and sort of zone out and really use all my brain power to try and remember things. I have to really concentrate. It's so hard for me to remember.
Is that
the
a protection
events.
Thing then?
I presume so. Like with the brain, I'm not sure. I've always just noticed it that I can. If anyone asks me questions about most things, I can remember. I think class memory is like really good, but with my military career and then on tour, it's so hard to remember like things that happen. It's just sort of like it was all dolged into one. It was like one big blur. But you were in some
serious action though, weren't you?
Yeah, well, it's a violent world out there, and we had to do what we had to do.
So there was that incident that was on the front page of the newspapers. Is that something that you want to talk about?
Yeah, it was like a Thursday. It was like a really hot day. So it was either June or July. I think it was June. And obviously, when the elder lad from the village like come up, obviously he was like a suicide bomber. Little didn't know. And the lad at the front obviously like took quite a lot of the hit because he was like the passenger train guy. But like them, there's like three of the people that was operating at the Fob Inkman got hit unfortunately that evening. When they got taken back to the HLS, the helicopter landing site, sorry for the viewers, at the back of where the fob was, like one was KA'd like straight away, and the other 2 like still alive. So they did everything they can. The medical team and the team that was down there, etc., like did an absolute phenomenal job. But unfortunately, when they took on the Chinook, they got taken to Camp Bastion. Same, I think they got KI'd announced on the transit. But unfortunately, what was the first lad actually was one of the lads that like helped like pick him up and take him onto the Chinook. So
you had to carry him on.
Yeah, I was one of the people that picked him up. Yeah.
I mean, that's just such a horrific experience, isn't it? I mean, to undergo. How do you feel about all of that? I mean, does that not scar you or anything?
Well, the lads up there when it happened, I just happened to be at the back. So obviously, we was operating at the Fob Inkman, but the other lads had more to deal with because they were out there. And obviously, they had the friends, etc., and the closer teammates, etc., wouldn't want to name that were there. So it's a lot more like traumatic for them. But with that, it's crazy to think really as well, because another thing that I remember what happened, because we're part of the Geneva Convention, the British forces, and obviously the Taliban, etc., like wasn't like we had to abide by the rules, but they didn't as such. I found that like that dynamic like quite sort of harder to deal with because you didn't know who to trust, etc. And I was people that are a lot higher pay grade than me had to make obviously the bigger calls. I was just like doing what I was told. But I remember when a few of them got like brought into the camp one day that had been like hit and injured. We had to like help with the medical extraction with them and getting a camera, try and help them out, sort of thing. So that whole dynamic was a bit like strange to like, deal with, but. Yeah, they needed the help, so we were in the rules. Like we had to like help them. But so the medics there again, they were like second to none. They're absolutely brilliant. Like when we was down at Fob Inkman, all the people working as a medic down there were like absolutely phenomenal at their job. I got utmost respect for them.
So it must have been very weird that you've got to help your enemy who've been firing at you, and you've got to look after them. I mean, that's a weird thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I was in camp both times when it happened, but when they got brought in, yeah, I think they got one of the airstrikes sort of like hit them, but they come in. So one of them had, remember we first brought the tailgate down, like one of them, the first person to us had like a really bad head injury, so it was all like quite messy, but it was really weird dynamic like that bit. But I remember being at the back of the HLS as well when we had the supplies given to us, like water or the mail that come every now and again, like the resupplies. I remember getting indirect fire once then, so all the team was we had to like sort of run off, but it was really strange because quite a few other soldiers say, it's me and my teammate that was there, like we started like sort of giggling, laughing. A lot of soldiers like sort of laugh in the moment, like I think that's sort of like maybe like a level of fear or coping mechanisms, but a lot of soldiers like laugh, ironically, which is really, really odd. I always found that super strange, like that people would laugh in that style. But
I guess.
But
Yeah.
maybe it's coming. But when that happened, like everyone was giggling like little schoolgirls when we were running away from some of that indirect fire. Like they changed their tactics a lot. Then they went the whole IED thing. So they're using a lot of improvised explosive devices, which could be a bit more nerve-wracking as well because you can't really see it. I think. I could be a little wrong if I get it wrong, sorry to the viewers, but I think 2006 was sort of like, 2007 was the last of the sort of small arms fire, then there was a lot of it obviously in the 2008, 2009, and then when it hit like 2010 etc, like I think the IED sort of threat was like that towards the back end of the conflict was getting more and more prominent. They seen that as a better tactics of like going about it. But another thing ironically was really like dangerous out there because it's such a dangerous country, because Afghanistan have always been back at war, even from the Genghis Khan times, and 1979 Russia invaded. They've always been at war. It's like a really war-torn sort of place, but there's loads and loads, believe it or not, of like improvised explosive devices and a lot of mines etc that are still, when we were operating there, that were still there from like previous wars. So we had that to do as well. So there's loads of them just in the desert, just
I mean, so you're worried when you're walking around at any point that you could step on a mine?
Yeah, look, there's obviously like that threat out there. I think that's a really like strange dynamic. Like I think a lot of the lads from the other regiments, and especially the special forces guys that were out on the ground a lot, went deeper sort of thing. They had to be like really wary of like, the idea, which is a really strange like enemy really, because you can't really see it. So they have to like obviously detect it, all that sort of thing. But yeah, so that dynamic I think plays on people's minds. I think maybe that subconsciously had a lot to do with the soldiers when they got back being like nervous and having a lot of anxiety, etc.
Do you ever have that where you have like a loud bang in the street or something and you would react?
No, I'm fine with guilt to fireworks for the kids, etc. I've always been like alright with it, to be fair. I know like some people do suffer like that, but I'm just one of the lucky ones really. But
it's very weird. I'm sorry I'm pushing you on this. It's very weird that you've carried people that have died, you've been under fire, shot at people and all of that, and yet you seem very sort of well balanced. So you don't feel you've had any detrimental effect?
I think the fighting obviously blocked that out a lot. Like I said earlier in the interview, I think indulging into the sports and the MMA and the boxing, etc. helped massively, I'm not going to lie, but I think everyone deals with it in different ways, where if obviously you get the people down one side of the spectrum that can like suffer like really, really bad, you must have people like scientifically on the other side that can deal with it good. But as God's obviously blessed me of being all on this side, where me and a few others, it hasn't really affected us too much, if I'm being perfectly honest, which is obviously a blessing from God himself.
Yeah, fantastic, which would mean that you would be an amazing sort of security person, wouldn't you, in looking after people, because you can think so clearly without being affected. Yeah,
even now I'm trying to improve my skills, obviously, in the security industry and being the best I can be, but yeah, you're always a student, always learning. So, but I think as a baseline, it's definitely helped me, because in the security industry, especially in bodyguard world, they love a lot of the ex-military sort of lads coming through. I think maybe that's why. So
when you came back, you went straight into the boxing, because I mean the boxing wasn't that much before you did the army, was it? You'd done a bit, hadn't you?
Yeah.
And then you did the cage fighting. Why did you go from the boxing to the cage fighting?
I don't know. It was like a real big breath of fresh air. I remember training actually. I was doing a bit Thai boxing at one of the beginners class, and the MMA class come in, like the two brothers come in and start teaching. It was very, very new in the area, and I asked the coach, I said, "Oh, what's this?" And they said, "Oh, it's the MMA." I thought, "Oh, I'd like to jump in." They said, "Oh, first class is free, jump in." I was like, "Oh, spot on." So I jumped in, and I always remember the first submission I ever got taught. Anyone that watches UFC, etc., will know it's the head and arm triangle. It's quite like a basic move, but I remember getting shown about it, and I thought it was absolute wizardry. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome," and I was absolutely buzzing. I said, "I can't wait to come back. I need to come back." So when's the next session? If this was a Wednesday, they said, "Oh, it's next Wednesday." I was at, because it was like fairly new. That sport, they only did it once a week. It was just a beginner's MMA class once a week, so I had to wait a whole week to come back. But I was itching to get back to it. But as soon as I got showed that one head and arm triangle, I was absolutely hooked on MMA. Just martial arts. I've always been interested in martial arts anyway, but when MMA came about, it was like such a breath of fresh air. Like, it was exactly what I needed at the right time in my life. Something completely new to focus all my energy on.
Did you prefer the boxing to the MMA? Which one did you like better?
I've always been a massive boxing fan as a fan, watching it, like your Roberto Duran's, Sugar Ray Leonard's, Marvin Hagler's, Tom Hanks. I'll always, even to this day, I'd always rather watch a good 50-50 boxing fight, but I actually prefer doing MMA. So it's a weird one, I prefer doing MMA, the training and competing, but for watching as a fan, my heart's always on boxing. I've always boxing number one.
Yeah, I love boxing. So what was weird that you went from the army and then you went into like the close protection security. How did you get offered that?
Well, the whole security industry career was a bit of a fluke and not intended either. I jumped on the doors as a young lad when I was training for these boxing fights because I had to pay for gym memberships and a few pad men. So I thought, what can I do at weekends to get a bit of extra cash? So I jumped on the doors. And the second reason I did it actually as well, to be honest, when I was in fight camp, because I was like quite young, like the temptation when the lads are ringing, you say, "Oh, come on, we're going to a pub," and the girls message you, "Do you want to come out for a drink," etc. It was so tempting to go out. I thought, when I'm in fight camp, if I jump on the doors on the Friday and Saturday night, I can't go about doing anything stupid. I'll be locked in. It'll stop me from doing anything like the partying or anything like I shouldn't be doing. So one actual main reason I started doing the doors was to actually like to help my fight career. I was in fight camp, so I didn't do anything silly at the weekends. From the doors, obviously the next step was obviously the close protection with the military background. It was just like a slow progression. None of it was planned. It just sort of happened because with the doors, you're never going to pay that great deal of money, but it's such a good networking, Liam. Like, you meet so many people, and the more chances are of like meeting the right people, and you learn like a lot of skills as well. Like, you'd be surprised, like learning how to read people on the doors. You can't get any better than it. Really, it's the best for close protection operatives. The doors actually, believe it or not, is the best training program because you're going to get different scenarios. You're going to have to learn how to talk to people. You're going to come across the bullies. You're going to have to figure out in the venue, like, who's the drug dealers, what football fan doesn't like that football fan, what girlfriend's been cheating on this girl. It's all going to kick off, and you have to get your knowledge. And so when someone talks to you, because I always remember when I first joined, I was really lucky. There was a couple of lads that had been doing it like 20 plus years. My first head doorman had been doing it for 25 years when I first started, so they all bombed with all this sort of knowledge. And when a group of lads come in, or anyone, he used to say, "Oh, he's going to kick off later." I was like, "What, him?" And then like an hour later, I was like, "Oh, it's kicking off in the toilet," and it would be exactly that guy. And he said he because he's been doing it so long, 12 years, he's picked up this sort of sixth sense. Mm-hmm. To be honest, with the doors, I literally just missed the glory days. Yeah. Like a lot of the older lads that were still knocking about, coming towards the end of their careers, like when I joined, they had all the cool stories, and I sort of like just missed it, which is gutting. If I was around in the 90s, I probably absolutely loved it. Like that, my door stories would be like mundane compared to people in the 90s. I just missed it. I just missed out the wrong timing of it, like the UK garage and the
I know you
the
can
drug
top
scene.
these people because you've done the close protection stuff and all of that, and you have protected top people, haven't you? Yeah,
we've done all the celebrities, all sportsmen, like political jobs, diplomats, like been all while doing it. It's been a great experience, and I'm very, very fortunate to have them opportunities given to me.
Am I not right in thinking there was Joe Biden? I did see on another podcast you did mention that you were part of the security unit. Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, when obviously he's got his own like team of Secret Service. When they came over to the UK, we our team was like supporting them. Yeah, that was up in Edinburgh. So that was a surreal experience. That was really, really good and a great one on my CV. It was.
How does that sort of happen then? That you got, a mass fleet of people. Is there a lot of people that are assigned to it, or can you give us a sort of an idea of the kind of background to that without giving away secrets.
Well, we had the bodyguard and CPT like for the nights and the daytime. I was the team leader for the nights team, and we had our sort of area that we was operating in, and we was working in close conjunction with the Secret Service, what they wanted. But to be honest, that was like something I'd be in out of a film. Like when they come in, we did the air support, and then you had all the snipers, etc., and all the tactics and stuff that went into it was like second to none. It was brilliant. I was particularly impressed with when it was time to pack up, because they drill it so often. Like when it's time to pack up, how quickly they get everything and then off they go. I can't like disclose any like sort of tactics or what they did, but I'm just saying when you watch it firsthand, them in action, they were particularly good. There's levels to the game, and when I watched some of them guys in action, it was.
So do you? I mean, obviously, I say you can't give away too much about it, but do you have like a whole pre-meet? I mean, does that go on for a long period of time, or how does that work?
Yeah, as a team leader, I had to go and talk to them, ask what he wanted, and believe it or not, the guy one of the people I spoke to, he was actually the head of the whole security of the White House, and it was really cool as well, because when we had our set area that we were operating in, any police officer in the whole country, no matter if it was the number one in the whole of the UK, wasn't allowed to go like past the bit we were, so we had more authority than any police officer that day, like in the whole country.
You were actually very in close proximity to him. What was he like? What was the kind of feel that you got from him?
Yeah, he's got his own team, and I spoke to his driver, obviously can't name, but that drives the Beast, the infamous vehicle that come through. So that was really cool. And he did like sort of pass us, and we got caught a few snaps like near to him, but we didn't really. He's got his own team where we speak to. We were just doing our job and all our security protocols, etc. Because we don't get too indulged in it, because it's more like the seat sort of thing. So whoever, it doesn't matter like who the president is at the time sort of thing. Like on the personal level, it's more like the seat that you're protecting. So whoever's in charge, whether it be him or another president, that's like sort of like the mission objective, and that's the good thing to have on your CV. But with the individual, we didn't really like try to like indulge into it. But he's got his personal protection people at the Secret Service that are with him, like right next to him. But you have that same team, so they've got their own sort of bond, and they'll just relay the messages and tell us like what they want us to do, etc. Not gonna lie, I'm not really too fussed. I stay professional, and I don't really try and indulge into like much conversations with them, etc. The only ones that I would do on a personal level is the fighters that I'd be interested in. But I think maybe that makes me good at a job, because I don't get starstruck at any artist or celebrity, yeah, because But
have you travelled all around the globe doing that?
Yeah, we've operated in all over the world, like from like Dubai's and like Switzerland and off to France, and yeah, we get around and do some like good stuff. So I think it's always a good buzz to work abroad. But to be honest, like with the abroad jobs, it's all the skills and drills are the same, and we could be sitting outside some billionaire's like villa for 12 hours at a time with no breaks, in the sun, full suit, sweating, blisters off feet, absolutely horrible, worst job ever. But when you operate in all different countries, unless you're in the hostiles, like if you go to the hostile environments, like some places in Africa and Iraq where you got your firearms, obviously that's different. But within Europe, no matter where you operate, all the skills and drills are the same. It's not really much different. To be honest, when they're working abroad, 99% of the time you even forget you are abroad, because you're doing the same drills, you're working with the same team. Like it's no different at all.
Now, are you authorised to use firearms?
Yeah, different countries, different areas, it gets quite confusing. But hostile environments you are, but then if you're in, even say like in America, there's even like different states have different rules. You have to be really, really careful, because you can end up getting into trouble by accident. But you'd have it cleared. You'd know exactly like when to have it and when not, because you'd obviously land yourself in like big trouble, because you get treated like same as a civilian. If you've got firearms, you'd be like prosecuted. So you have to learn the land rules for each place you work on. Do all your research, because you could, especially out to sea, if you get to a certain crossing and without accidentally, like you can land yourself in trouble. So we'll always be super, super careful with that.
So you're actually also really a diverse kind of guy, because you've been an actor as well. You were in the Rise of the Foot Soldier. So were you in one of the big fight scenes or something? Yeah, that was great fun, to be fair. With the acting, that was more sort of like a side hustle, more of a hobby. But I got given a chance to do it. I played like a football hooligan, so we were at the football stadium. We had a big fight with the West Ham fans. It was all great. And then after that, we went to the nightclub, and then there's a bottle scene at the barman, and we all get really loud, etc. It was great fun, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So do you feel you've got a future in the acting world?
Yeah, my last one that I did was the New Breed of Criminal, where I got I played doorman and I get absolute.
Was that Steve Wraith? Was that?
Yeah, I got filled in by a hammer. I got if you ever see it, I get hit 12 times with it. So that was great fun. That was just like going back to looking the doors. So that was just second nature, just getting paid to get beat up. I was like, oh, I've done that for years anyway. No problem, Steve. I can do that for you, no problem.
So when you look back over your life, what would you say was the most difficult situation that you've ever been in?
Can't really remember because it's so long, but maybe like your first fight, to walk into a boxing ring or any sort of ring, because you're expecting the worst. But once you've been hit by a stiff jab and stuff, and you realise that there's a ref there, and you can always stop at any time. You're only fighting one guy. It's not going to be multiple people. They're not going to have weapons, etc. So once you get over that sort of fear of your first fight, I think that's a big relief, because obviously out on the street or anywhere else in the real world, it could end up like completely different. There could be multiple people. They could be armed. And when you hit the floor, they ain't going to be a ref to stop. They can attack you when you to your ground. So I think that was a big overcome. So yeah, I'll stick with the first fight, first box fight, first time I get punched in the face.
What's it like that experience? Well, I mean, actually being punched in the face. I mean, that very first time must be so weird, because for ordinary punters who never have that, I mean, you do that. You know, you've done it as a job. You've done it in boxing and everything. You know. I
think any fight I relate to this. When you're backstage, if you're in the change room, it's the whole build-up sort of thing that's more nervous. But once the bell goes, you haven't really got time to think. But with that as well, I think with fighting, it's so good that you can only concentrate on what your opponent's doing. So all the other life problems around you get cut out. So I think it's good that you put yourself in that situation, and you grow so much from it that you can't grow much more than putting yourself through like adversity and stuff. So having just anyway, I think everyone should have like just one fight. I think just to because then everything in your life's just easy after that. I think it will teach you a lot about yourself.
So what's the future going to hold for Ryan Barby? What are you going to do? What's going to happen to you?
Well, I've got endless motivation at the minute, because obviously I've got a child on the way. So I'm going to
congratulations.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to push like as hard as I can, and I'm not going to like indulge into any particular like field. I'm just going to try wherever.
Will you keep going with the security stuff?
Yeah, whoever offers like the money, etc. Like I'm just going to push all different avenues. I'm pretty open to push on and like take any sort of like different work or whatever comes up, any country, or I'm not going to be picky anymore, because I've got like unlimited motivation. Like I said, I've got like a big massive like fire in me now to get as much money and protection from my family. Well,
I think a lot of people who are watching this would want to thank you for your service, because anybody that goes and puts on their life on the line for their country that's a phenomenally brave thing to do, and I think all our viewers will be supporting you on that. So Ryan, thank you very much for being with us, and I hope you enjoyed it. And can people see you? Are you online or all that, if they want to get in touch with you and everything?
Yeah, I'm on all social media, to be fair, like at Ryan Barby on Instagram, and I'm also Facebook. I'm on Twitter, and like I'm on absolutely everything, to be fair. But Snapchat, but I don't use the TikTok and etc. and Twitter as much, but I am on everything, yeah.
Yeah, so people can get hold of you if they want to ask you a question or something like that. But brilliant, thanks very much for having us.
Nice one, thanks for having us, Liam. I really enjoyed it.